Hello, everyone. Welcome back to When Shooting's Life podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, Kue Lee, and with my co-host, Christian Kane. Today, we have a very special guest, and we are extremely honored to have him on our podcast. This man doesn't need an introduction, but for those who doesn't know, he is a GM in USPSA. He is also one of the best shooting instructor out there. He helped wrote several books about practical shooting, and he is the host of Practical Shooting Training Group Live podcast, and he goes by the name of Joe Park. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Thanks for joining us, man.
Feel it by
Yeah,
the time
so,
it's out.
yeah, I'm pretty excited and nervous at the same time. So this episode is gonna be more like a meet and greet. All right.
That's
So,
that's good. As long as Joel's not here to like critique our shooting, I'm all right.
all right. So before we officially begin this podcast, just five random question. You don't have to go into details. You could just give out a short answer. Are you ready?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Can 100 men defeat one gorilla?
I would think so. Yes.
Okay. If you could choose to be an animal after you die, which animal would you want to be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Probably an otter because they're cute.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
Oh man, I would have thought you say a wolf or something. You know,
Yeah.
get all the bitches. All right. All right, next question. Single stack or production?
Production for sure. I mean, I wish more people still shot production or iron sights aren't cool anymore, but I still think that's the coolest division, honestly.
Have you ever shot single action?
I don't own any. I've shot not in competition. I've
Okay.
shot single action guns and borrowed some 2011s and stuff, but no, I've always had either striker fired or DASA guns.
Okay.
But I think production's the coolest just because like the iron sight's fun, the minor power factor was cool. Well, it was 10 round at the time. Now I guess 15, but still I thought it was just the coolest division.
Yeah, I agree. Even though I don't shoot production.
Well, plus it was cheap guns. That was important also
Yeah.
because you don't have to like spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a pistol.
Yeah.
You could use a Glock 34, or if you want a DASA, you could get a Shadow, whatever. But it was a lot less expensive way to get into it, which I liked also.
Yeah, speaking of the capacity, I actually think that carry optic should have been production optic from the very
Yes,
beginning. Yeah.
1,000%.
Yep.
15 plus one. Then you could just use factory base
Hmm.
pads, and then like the cat's out of the bag, limited optics could just be extendo clips and single actions and magwells and whatever you want. But I agree. I would have liked the production optics thing too.
All right, next question. Do you think Jesus hasn't come back yet because he's still busy with the other planets?
I got nothing for you.
Where do you get these questions from,
I
Coos?
was
You're
not
killing me
expecting
here.
this question.
Okay.
None of us were.
All right, last one.
Did Chat GPT come up with these questions for you?
No.
This is what Koo does when he's staying up at night.
Ben said the same thing. All right, last one. Would you consider it cheating if you were also in a relationship with an AI robot?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, that's all for the five random question. So for those who doesn't know you, can you give us a quick background about yourself?
Sure. Well, where to start? I guess most of my life revolves around shooting in one way or the other. So I've co-authored a couple books with Ben Steger. I do podcasting. I do a daily YouTube video, and I'm one of the partners on Practical Shooting Training Group, which is digital coaching. So, and then also I travel around the country doing in-person classes. So most of my life is in some way either shooting, training myself, or teaching other people how to shoot.
All right, sounds good. So before we start, so yesterday I saw you post a video of you you shot a video with Surefire. How
Oh
was
yeah.
it? How was
Oh, that
it?
was awesome. Andrew and the guys are super good. So I was actually I was already in California with my friend Nick, doing a class there. And I know some of the Surefire guys are friends. And so I text my friend Andrew, who does the some of the social media and marketing for Surefire. I think it's senior marketing. I won't get it right. But anyway, I text him like, hey, we're going to be in the area if you want to come shred with us. He's like, yeah, I'd love to be in the class. And then he asked if I'd do a video while we were there. I'm like, yep, sounds good. So luckily the range was cool with it. And he, in short order, had some camera guys lined up. So then after class was done for the day, he just, like, I spitballed a couple topics of ideas of stuff to do for a video. And he's like, yep, that's the one. Okay. So they just set up the cameras and it was basically like one take for everything and just start talking. And anyway, it was super fun.
Nice.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I like the Surefire products a lot. I interact with a lot of military and law enforcement, and
Mm.
their stuff is just all over the place. Well, oddly enough, the gun I was just dry firing today, it's got a Surefire X300 turbo on it, so it's just stuff I encounter a lot in classes. So a lot of professionals use it. So it's the right stuff to have, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah. By far for like duty grade, I'd say gold standard.
Yeah, 100%. The mod light stuff is very good too,
Mhm.
but the Surefire is very mainstream. A lot of people use it, and their suppressors are excellent also.
All right, so you don't have to answer this question if you can't. But did Surefire pay you?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Damn. Nice.
It was super nice. They like
Yeah.
I offered to let them in the class for free, and they asked if they could
Okay.
do a video. I'm like, yeah, sounds awesome. Like it's good for me,
Yep.
and I like those guys anyway, so
All right.
no big deal. Well, even like I do YouTube videos every day for free. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of creating the material I wish I had when I started shooting.
Yes.
But when I started shooting, well, YouTube was not what it is now, so it's kind of just starting out. But there's just more and more material and more people creating material. So now you've got what tens of years of material on YouTube. So
All right.
kind of creating the material I wish I had.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Love it.
All right. Let's get on to our first question. So our first question is, we're gonna start with some basic and easy question first. So how did you get into shooting and when did you shoot your first USPSA match?
Well, like growing up, my dad's side of the family always kind of shot guns, so it'd be the out in the pasture shooting at like bottles or cans and that kind of stuff. And then as a teenager, I always enjoyed shooting guns and would go to the indoor range. And I just saw a USPSA match that they had at a local range a night that I was there just plinking on a lane with my dad. So I was like, hey, what's that? How do I get involved? And it was outlaw, but it was USPSA-ish. So anyway, I started doing that maybe around 16, 17, 18 years old, somewhere in there. And so then I talked my dad into buying a 9 millimeter handgun because all I had was a 22 at the time. And so I got a Ruger P95. That was the gun I chose because it was like $300. I still remember how much it cost. And anyway, I was hooked after that. It was a lot of fun.
All right. So how long did it take you to become a GM and what do you think it takes to become one?
Stand by! Are you ready? Stand by! If you're finished.
Well, I shot casually for quite a while and I made B class. Well, I started in D class. So there's hope for anyone. Quickly made C class, and then after a little bit of practice, in fairly short order, I was able to make B class. Then after that, I was quite consistent, but I didn't know how to get faster or better, kind of what that looked like. So I would be very accountable for all the bullets, but it was just all very deliberate shooting. So no train wrecks, no misses, but it was just all kind of what we call now over aiming and very deliberate. So I did that for quite a while. I was probably stuck there for around 10 years, just kind of casually doing my thing. And at the time, I mean, honestly, at my club, there wasn't really a lot of talent. So with that, I could show up and win our section match every year, our state level match in production. So I just show up and do my thing and win, and that was it. I didn't really practice a lot. I didn't really have a lot of people to push me to get better. And then I kind of got the bug to start training and getting better. So at that point, I jumped to YouTube because I had a lot of books already, but looking through YouTube and watching like high level, super squad level stuff and just what was available, I stumbled across Ben Steger stuff. Go figure, he's now one of my closest friends, but found his videos and I thought they're like very actionable. I liked the breakdown of kind of step by step how to do it, what it looked like, and then I just tried to mimic that basically in my training. And then after a while of mimicking that, I ended up having Ben to my range for a class and hosted him maybe 4 or 5 years, something like that, just kind of back to back. And then every year when he'd be out, I'd participate in the class as a student and kind of get some critique for my own shooting, how to get better. And then once I really applied myself, it was probably, I don't know, I should have, terrible at remembering this stuff, maybe 3 or 4 years I'd made GM from B class.
Mm.
But I mean,
Nice.
to get there, what it takes isn't necessarily how much ammo you can spend, but I think it's being dedicated. So dry firing, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a stretch. For most people, 3 or 4 days a week, you can set aside 20 minutes. It could be in the morning, it could be at night, but you have to be dedicated enough to set aside 20 or maybe even 30 minutes. And then when you work on your dry fire training, nothing else matters. So not taking time out to play on your phone or watch TV or anything like that. Just train for 15 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes a day. And then, that's an effective way to really build skill. But it's easier said than done, and not everybody wants to do that.
I guess kind of piggybacking off of that, how has the game changed since you started? Because, techniques have changed, equipment's changed. What are some of the biggest things that you've noticed?
That's a good question. Well, for sure the skill level has got a lot higher
Hmm.
because you look at the hit factors for so I'm dating this a bit. So El Pres, when this first came out, it would be 1999, so it was a 99 series. Like 10 hit factor was the gold standard. If you could hit 10 hit factor, that was really good. Well, now you look and people are doing 12s or 13s. People are way better. A bill drill, the original standard was 2 seconds, 7 yards, 2 seconds, six alphas. Now look at what some of the guys are doing. It's 1.7, 1.6, 1.8 is very obtainable with some training. So I think overall the skill has got a lot better. The actual gear itself, I suppose, is a little bit better also, but I think just the information and the shooting has changed a lot.
What would you say is like the biggest driver of us seeing, yeah, that skill increase? Like what's that secret sauce that's really starting to make people better?
That's a good question. I feel like probably how easy the information is to get in my brain.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
on YouTube, you can just, I mean, for free. Well, for instance, not to plug my own stuff, Ben Steger and I have full class dumps on YouTube for free. So it's like an hour and a half, just like you're there. And obviously, you don't get the in-person critiques, but there's a lot of people posting long form videos of educational stuff. There's a lot of podcasts. If you're interested in getting better, there's no shortage of information now. And I don't feel like that was the case before. My friend Cody and I started a podcast. It was a long time ago, probably easily, I'm not good at this year stuff, but easily over 10, 15 years ago. And at the time, there wasn't that many people doing podcasts. There was like only one other shooting podcast. So, and now there's a bunch of them or a bunch more people in that space. So,
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I started shooting around, I got real serious around like 2016, 2017.
okay.
That's when I got my NRA instructor certification. I thought it was hot stuff. And
Sure.
around that time, that's there wasn't, yeah, you're right. There wasn't really that much stuff. And then most of my shooting career has been on more of the defensive side. And I got into like the range master program, took a lot of the range master classes. And it's just within like this past year that Ku's really been pushing me that, hey, you got to try the competition stuff. And that's all I've been doing is I've been consuming all of Stager's stuff, watching your stuff, and just realizing that, man, I thought I knew what I was talking about, but the competition space is really where it's at. If you're really trying to push the performance, I can talk about like the defensive stuff all day, but like the performance stuff, like I thought I was hot stuff, but I realized, oh, I'm way down here. I've got a lot of catching up to do. So I honestly, I really appreciate you and Ben and all the other guys who put out such high level material for free. It's been incredible.
Good. No, I mean, it's just creating the material I wish I had when I started, honestly. It sounds pretty cheesy. And like even speaking to the defensive side, a lot of higher levels in the U.S. military train in the practical shooting sense, where it'd be mock stages like what you'd see in a USPSA match, or the same types of drills. That's the way people that use a gun for a living are practicing also at the highest levels in the U.S. military. So that it's just a proven recipe, I suppose, for success and skill.
Absolutely.
All right, so
All right,
Joe,
cool.
I want to hear your thoughts on this. So I'm still a B class, but but I do believe that I shoot like an A class, but I just can't. I just don't do well in classifier.
You get too nervous.
That is true.
I know.
So what
I'm
do you
just
what what recommendation would you give to me?
How about this? For B class people, here's a hot take. Most people fall in two camps. One, they're too deliberate
Hmm.
and they kind of over aim and too slow, too tidy. Or the second camp, they're probably a bit undisciplined and they go a little bit too fast or get nervous and fall, things go off the rails. Yeah, I know, I already had that figured out. I was keeping it anonymous.
Yeah.
So, so it depends on which side you're on. If you're an over aimer, then you probably need a kick in the ass where it's like if you see the color of your sight, you've got to start shooting. You can't sit on it. You can't over aim. You can't over confirm. If you're on the other side and you lack discipline, well, we have to add discipline. So there's a couple different ways to do that. Well, a good way is adding rules for yourself. So like if I'm left to my own devices, I can go crazy fast, especially on close stuff, like 10 yards and in. I mean, I'm not trying to like brag, but it'll be genuinely really fast stuff. But there'll be some oopsies in there too because I'll go at it so hard, I'll be making mistakes. So then in a match or for score, when it counts, I have to add rules for myself, such as it does not matter how I feel, I have to wait until I see the color of my sight on the target. No exceptions. Don't care how much you feel like you're using the force or anything else. You will wait until you see the color of the sight on the targets. So it'd be just little things like that,
Mm.
as opposed to sometimes people get really, really keyed up because they get nervous, they want to do well, they want to get a new classification. And then as opposed to, well, for instance, when I really started trying to make a push for GM, as opposed to shooting for 100% score, I was trying to get 150% score. It was
Mm.
like pushing so I wasn't necessary. I was going way more above and beyond at an unrealistic pace trying to hook up. And it was just too much. Like I couldn't hang them on paper. So I think it takes, like I said, building in discipline, which you could do in your training. So for example, let's say you go out and shoot and you're going to shoot 300 rounds that day. And the goal is you have A's, some Charlies are okay, no deltas, no misses for the entire day. It's like how many people could do that? That's tough for most people to do, not miss all day long. You shoot 300 rounds, not a single miss. So you could do things like that, which that's not a way to build speed, but that would be a way to add in accountability or, however you want to think about it.
Mm.
So I think the key is really understanding how you tick and what the problem is. And if maybe it's your cold shooting, you get really amped up. So what do? You spend extra importance when you go to the range. Like this morning, I was at the range. I put a lot of importance on my cold shooting. So I set up some random drill, whatever it's going to be for the day, and then load the mags. I put, grip enhancer on, kind of stuff. Do a couple just like a safe area. Just draw the gun and just press the trigger, just facing the berm, not looking at even all the targets. Then walk up, and then that's it. I'll just shoot the targets like 3 repetitions of the drill, score them, and that's that. That's as good as I am for that day. And if you have some oopsies, then that's as good as you are that day. If it goes great, cool. And that just kind of gives you feedback to how you perform on demand. Because you're putting that amount of pressure on yourself.
That makes sense.
It's easier said than done.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any
Yeah.
pressure that you feel on yourself, you bring with you.
Yeah.
That's because you want to do well. People, like if it's a 6-stage match, 5 stages in a classifier, who cares about the 5 stages? But they get to the classifier and all of a sudden it's different. People want to do extra well. Now's the time that really matters, or this really counts, or I'm, going to turn it on or try extra hard, or, however people verbalize it. So it's,
Yeah.
it's tough to stay under control when that comes up and you want to do really well.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with that because most of my classifier are like very high Bs, like very close to A. Is because like if I had one more alpha, it would have been A class run, but I always end up having like one less alpha. So that's why I struggle uh getting to A class. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, getting an A class is not easy. You have to be fast. Also, I mean, you have to be fast and accurate.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, you could set up some classifiers, not even the one you know that's going to be at a match, and just see what shooting an A class score feels like. That's another way some people
Mm.
do it. Look at the numbers are pretty available. Hey, you have to do it in this time, and you could have this many points, or this is the score someone else shot. And then you're just trying to match what somebody in A class is able to do. And that gives you an idea like, dude, I'm way too slow. Or maybe the speed isn't an issue, but the hits are. So it could be a multiple of things. Sometimes people just shoot at brown. They don't really find the middle. So you end up with a bunch of some alpha, some Charlies, maybe a delta here and there that is kind of squirting bullets at the shape or color of the target. So it's like, hey, maybe your problem's just you don't find the center. Maybe the issue is, fill in the blank.
Yeah, I think my issue is just because I have to do a cold start and I'm too nervous because I know that because when I go to the range, I do practice on some classifier stages, and if I do it over and over, sometime I could get a very high A class, but
Sure.
like at the very beginning, I could not get close to A class. So I think I need to learn how to control my emotion when it comes to like a classifier stage,
I
which
agree. That's easy to do.
yeah, easier said than done though, to be honest.
100%. Because whether
Yeah.
it's the first stage of a match that your
Yep.
friends are watching you, or a class demo, or even just your own practice that you're putting pressure on yourself. I mean, that's tough if you know people are watching or you really care.
Yep.
And the more you care about it, the tougher it's going to be to do. So
So,
I think that's one of those things that comes from just doing it and putting yourself in those situations that are full of pressure.
all right. So in conclusion, be comfortable while being uncomfortable.
I don't know if you'll ever get comfortable,
Yeah.
Okay.
honestly.
That's that's kind of one of the things I'm grappling with is just watching Ben shoot, and he's so loose, and I can't. It doesn't work for me like that, and so I'm still trying to like get that where he's relaxed when he's shooting, and I'm way too tense, and so I'm still learning that part.
Sure, but like you're gonna bring the pressure with you. So how about
Hmm.
this? One of the last years I shot production, there's a section match I really wanted to win. The scores are uploaded in real time, and the person I'm shooting against is probably better than me. Like if you just looked at actual raw skill, but I'm like, yeah, I go to there to win. I want to win. We're watching the scores the whole time, and down to like I'm up some, he's up some, and I'm watching this throughout the whole day, and I know exactly what's going on. Get to the last stage, he shoots. It's not really that great. It was okay, but I'm like, hey, if I push a little bit, I can beat him for sure. If I push, a push run should be good, but a push run also brings a little bit of disaster with it because that's the chance for the oopsies, right?
Yeah.
I could shoot just a comfortable run, which should be good
Yes.
enough. But is it? I don't know. I'm not, I did not drive this far to lose. I want to win.
Mhm.
Then what do I do? And I honestly felt like I could throw up in a trash can. Like seriously.
Yeah.
It's like regardless of how good you do, or whatever, it's a club level match, it's a section match, an area match, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like if you want to do well, you'll bring that pressure with you. So it's not like you can't, it's never going to get easy. It's like being
Mm.
AGM, whether it's maybe winning a club match or winning a bigger match, I could be just as nervous because I want to do well. I want to do my best. So it never really goes away. You just have to manage it. And I think, like in my opinion, it'd be like knowing how you tick and how to deal with your emotions. So, like, just reminding, like, sticking to a process is a good idea. So it's not feelings, but it's like, what has to happen? It's like, no, you stupid idiot. You have to see your sight on every single target. Do not shoot unless your color of your sight is on the target. No exceptions. And like
Mm.
talking to yourself that sternly. And like, hey, it doesn't matter when you get all amped up. Calm down. Wait for the color of your sight. You know what I mean? So you have to have that kind of self-talk or find out. And for the other person, it's like this can't be slow. As soon as you see the color, you have to shoot. No stopping, no looking at the bullet holes or no looking at the targets for your bullet holes, no over confirming, none of that. It has to be you see the color, you shoot. So like depending on how you're wired, you could have self-talk in any of those types of ways. Or maybe you're somebody that forgets your stage plan. That's easy to do too. So you have to keep visualizing it over and over and over again. So you remember all the targets are. You can do it blindfolded. You know where the targets are going to be and what the targets look like and the order you're going to shoot them in, where you plan to do your magazine change.
Person who forgets their stage plan. Are you watching my match footage? Because that's me.
No, that's easy to do.
I'm still learning that part.
You think you have it until the buzzer goes off,
Hmm.
you get amped up, then somewhere in the middle, you're like, dang it, we're like,
Yep.
oh, it's going left next, or I forgot gun goes click. Oh, I didn't reload, or whatever.
Mm.
All that stuff just comes from practice. And I mean, some of the stuff is just kind of hard learned lessons, honestly. Because for as many times it's been super stressful and I've pulled off a win or did what I wanted to do, of course, there's been a time where I got really nervous and I pushed too hard or made a miss or, an error. Like all that stuff happens too. So you just kind of have to analyze it afterwards or learn from your mistakes or find out through practice and your dry fire training like what needs to happen for you or what you have to tell yourself, all that kind of stuff. So it's some of it's very personalized and it's all easier said than done. But I don't think it'll ever get easy.
All right. Um, I'm gonna save this question for
Oh,
further down.
all right.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, let's move on to the next question. How do you balance life shooting and teaching?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, oh, you mean like life as far as like
Like in
family related
general? Yep.
stuff?
Yep.
No, 100% it is because, well, me, I'm basically weaponized autism. So it's easy to just hyper focus on the thing I want to do. So that would be discipline also and having awareness that I need to actually make time to hang out with my fiance or, that I want to do stuff with her or stuff I've committed to. So, um, yeah, I mean, I suppose it depends on the person, but I suppose it's having your priorities in order also. And honestly, like I guess to brag on her, my fiance is cool with me shooting and understands it's really important to me and something that I want to do. So I make time to go to matches. I make time for practice, time to hang out and do stuff as a couple. All that stuff's super important, but it's just kind of balancing life and schedules, and all that kind of stuff. But also being an effective and efficient practicer helps with that also. Because like this morning, like I woke up at like 7. I mowed the yard first thing. I went to the range. I was at the range for probably like from the time the tires stopped to leaving, like an hour and 15 minutes. I fired about 500 rounds and I was already done. Like I got a very efficient practice and already done leaving on my way home to, work on the rest of my chores for the day. So it's like being good at practicing and trying to make the best use of your time or the most efficient use of your time, which being an efficient practicer is really important also. Just making sure while you're at the range you have your mind made up what you want to do before you get there, not kind of dilly-dallying around. Set up what you want to do, work on whatever skills or drills you want to work on for that day, and then when it's time to go, pack up, go home, and on to the next thing.
How many rounds do you shoot a year?
I don't know, it's tough to say. I'm not good at keeping track of this stuff. It's probably 20 to 30,000 somewhere in there, a pistol, and probably 10 to 20 of rifle.
Damn.
I shoot
Damn.
more pistol for rifle stuff. I like shooting it throughout the year. It's just more expensive, so I normally shoot rifle more if I have like an agency gig or a class coming up. Otherwise, my normal training would be just pistol.
Okay. What are some recommendations would you give to a new shooter? I know you kind of covered that, but like let's
Yeah.
just talk about like a brand new shooter that never shot a gun before. What would what are some recommendations would you give to them?
I mean, honestly, the important part to understand is that there really is no magic, in my opinion. It's all just fundamentals. So the basic what you're trying to do is hold the pistol in your hands without having it move, press the trigger without influencing the gun at all, and then trying to keep your hands attached or connected to the gun in a way that when it recoils, your hands don't slip, move, or you have to adjust your grip afterwards. Obviously, other than safety. And then, like for most people, whatever pistol you have is totally fine. People always want to chase having man, if I just had a Masterpiece Arms 2011 or a Staccato or a light triggered Shadow 2, I could do better. It's like, man, if you have a Glock or a Walther or one of like the Striker Fire to CZP-10, whatever you have is fine too. Just practice with the stuff you have. Because I think people get too hung up on needing to change like recoil springs or have a certain dot or a certain pistol. It's like just practice with what you have.
I guess just kind of going off of that, if you're just kind of coaching a new shooter, um, one of the things that I was always taught is, just kind of learning that trigger press and like that smooth, clean trigger press without moving the sights. Do you still do that, or do you jump more into just go ahead, let's learn like that great grip and then start doing something like doubles where we're shooting a little bit faster?
Yep. For people that come to me for classes like military law enforcement or just open
Hmm.
courses, it's going to already be people that are familiar with their pistol. I don't expect people to be an expert, but to
Hmm.
take a class with me, like expectations are you can load, unload, and clear a malfunction without any supervision or assistance. Obviously, if you get like a ruptured case or something catastrophic, maybe you need assistance, but just normal gun handling, you can keep it pointed safely downrange. You need no feedback. You also need to be comfortable holstering, unholstering, being able to move just laterally, move around a range while keeping your gun pointed safely downrange. Other than that, if you're an expert at any of the other stuff, why would you come to class if you were already an expert? You wouldn't need to. So once you have just basic gun safety, you can do manipulations without being a safety issue or pointing your gun at people at the side of you. That's it. You're ready for a class. As far as for class stuff, we've started on the slow, like kind of bullseye shooting where you gradually apply pressure and at some point the gun goes off anymore. I just don't think that's as successful. So we just start off with doubles basically. We normally do a drill called one shot return. What that means is we put a mark on the target and basically you'll shoot and you're just observing the way your sight comes back to where you're looking. And if the sight goes under and comes back up, maybe it stops and goes up high, you have to bring it back down. All those things are giving you feedback. And the kind of the takeaway for people is how little you have to push on or control the pistol to get it coming back to where you want the bullets to go. So that's just kind of an awareness drill. And then after that, we just break straight into doubles, just working on the rapid fire because when you're shooting super fast and the gun's bucking in your hand and you want to hang on to it, that's the best place to get the course corrections for your grip. Then once you get that, then you could do nuance, like what we do reactive shooting, which would be not bull, it'd be a step above bullseye shooting, but high accountability shooting, like what a police officer would want, where you know where every bullet's going, but it's fairly quick firing. So then we work on that, and it's still just nuance with your grip, making sure you can press the trigger straight back without influencing it or trying to like clamp down the gun or stop it from recoiling. But I think for what we've seen, you just start out fast, like pushing a kid that wants to learn how to swim, just push them in the deep end, and then like, hey, they'll figure out how to swim at some point. But I think that's the most telling way, at least for doubles, because it's happening so fast and it's really obvious to you if you start pushing on the gun or if your hands don't stay connected to the gun. So when the gun recoils, you see like the gun separating, the gun does one thing, but your hand staying still. So that's like it's a really quick way to get people up to speed with what's going on. And we don't expect people to be an expert, but it teaches people the concept and kind of what we're looking for and how to assess the target. Because I mean, all this stuff is a journey without a destination. Who are we kidding? No matter how good you get, you always want to be better.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the stuff that you and Ben have been putting out, and typically I'm teaching a lot of new shooters, a lot of them first time holding a gun, and so just over the years, that's usually where I started. It's just like that slow, smooth trigger press. I've got a new group of guys who some of them have military background, so most of them have a little bit of experience, and I was like, okay, maybe let's try what you guys are doing. Just let's skip the slow trigger press. Let's go and work on that grip and work on those doubles, and it seems to be working really well for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yes, if you have people that have never held a pistol before, then you'd have to
Mm.
do like, I mean, for you and I, it'd be common sense to how to align the sights or where to put the
Mhm.
sight on the target. But for some people that don't know, one of my friends, Kenny, he was not trolling. He's always had red dots. I mean, he never owned an iron sight. So I'm being serious. Like, so you just put the front, like the front post just goes in an equal line across the rear side. I'm like, yep. He's like, I figured so, but he'd never owned one before. So it's just for people that aren't familiar, you have to just like this is where your hands go, so they don't put their thumb over the back, get bit by the slide. Slow, gradual trigger press. That makes sense, just to kind of teach people safety and how to do it. But then once they become like competent and they can handle the gun and do a little bit of shooting, then it's straight off the races for us.
For those that are
Nice.
new, for those that are new to like shooting, would you recommend them to start with a full size pistol or just whatever they have, even if it's a subcompact pistol?
Whatever you have, I think is smart because people will look on the internet and be like, "Well, YouTube says I should buy this gun." But then just as you shoot more, you're likely to come in contact with people that have guns you can try, and you're likely to find something that you really, really like the feel. This gun just feels awesome. I love the trigger, the sights, whatever. And you're gonna find something that like I wouldn't take that gun even if it was free. So this just saves you spending your own money on something that you're not going to want long term. So I would say with whatever you have, as long as it's well, probably one brand that's not the smartest to buy, but any of the rest of them, as long as it's not a safety to the person shooting it, a safety issue, then any of the guns you buy or whatever you have, just shoot that gun, get better with it, and along the way, you're going to encounter other people, whether it's in a class or matches. People are always happy to trip over themselves and have you try their gun, so you could just try other people's guns and you'll find something you like.
Are we talking about the popular brand which shall not be named?
Dude, they're getting demolished right now on the internet. It's not good.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
All right, speaking
I hope they
speak
don't go bankrupt, but I mean, who knows how this whole thing could end, honestly.
Okay, so my question is it just the P320 or is it like it's just the P320, right? Just that.
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
I'll be honest, I don't study this stuff. I'm too busy. But yeah, it
Okay.
sounds like it's just the P320. From what I can gather and just seeing videos, it's the guns never go off when they just sit idly in a safe. Do you never hear about that having so some amount of like being jostled around or being in a holster or moving around is what it sounds like. But I don't know. Like I don't own one, so I'm not definitely not an expert on them. I'm just kind of just watching the show online, so to speak.
Have you seen any issues in any of your classes?
No, and I that's the other part. I don't like make people like get an okay with me for whatever gun they because like I'm not an expert on pistols and how they're all made and like to say your trigger's too light or yours is too heavy or whatever. So no, people just they bring what they bring to class. As long as you have like the common sense stuff where the holster you have needs to cover the trigger of your pistol. But other than that, whatever people, like. And I don't want to tell people that what they have, they need to go buy something different, or need to spend money and you need to have this holster, this belt, or anything like that.
All right, since we're on this topic,
Yeah,
would you pick a high point or a P320?
probably a high point.
Okay.
Just being
All
honest.
right. All right. All right, let's move on to the next question. In your opinion, is it easier to train law enforcement or civilians?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess it depends. Um, Law enforcement's super fun to work with. And so are civilians. For civilian classes, normally people are very energetic and want to be there, which is fun. For law enforcement, sometimes it could be just Monday at work, so they might not be as excited about it. Because, well, how about this? So, police officers have a pistol that they carry every day, but they also carry a radio. They also carry handcuffs. They also drive, just because they drive a squad car all day doesn't mean they're passionate about driving. So not all cops love shooting either, but overall, I think both crowds are really fun to work with. Um, Cops are fun because they always have cool toys, so I end up getting to like use breaching charges on doors or pepper ball guns or any of that kind of stuff, which is fun to play around with too. So,
Nice.
and for police, it's kind of fun to do. I've done a lot of law enforcement stuff lately. Uh, for a long time, kind of their training program, in my opinion, is very flawed because there'll be a lot of like front sight focus for departments that have iron sights, where it's like you focus on the front sight, but how are you supposed to see the person or target you intend to hit? Um, but it's not it's just like you step to the left or right in some departments, like you're stepping off the X while you draw your gun and shoot. Well, that's not really doing a lot, in my opinion. I've never done anything cool. I just shoot guns in dirt pits, but I think there's a lot of flawed training as far as being fast and accurate for law enforcement training. So it's really fun kind of getting to change that and show people what's possible and what they can get away with. Because in a lot of places I've been, it's shocking to them the results they could get or what they can get away with, or like doubles. People would have never thought you could shoot predictably at even 10 yards targets. So it's kind of like a whole new world to people, which is super fun because then they get excited about it and hopefully they want to practice or continue their training.
I'm really glad that people are reaching out to you because that's definitely been my experience too, just working with different law enforcement guys that that's the way that the department's taught it forever. And so that's the way they're going to continue to teach it. And so when you get a little bit of fresh blood in there to just kind of teach some updated techniques, it really helps them out a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, a little bit of inside information. So a lot of times at department ranges, they'll be like, "Yep, I've been a firearms instructor for 25 years." Well, doing it for 25 years does not mean that you're good at it. It
Mhm.
just means you've done it for a long time. So oftentimes it'll be very flawed or old, in my opinion, very slow ways of thinking. So it's sometimes it's good to have a fresh perspective. And normally, like the person bringing me in will be kind of driving the change at their institution, which is super fun because you'll get somebody in a leadership type of position. They're really passionate about call it like performance style shooting or practical shooting. And so they want to bring that to their place. They have somebody like me come in just to show their guys different techniques, what's possible, which is which is good. Because I mean, if you're shooting if you need to shoot your pistol, you want to be fast and obviously accurate and accountable for where the bullets go.
Absolutely.
All
Q, what you
right.
got for us?
Next question is, can you explain what is PSTG and how did it start and why?
Sure. Well, it's Practical Shooting Training Group. So it's my business partners, Ben Steger and Hwanshik Kim. I believe it was originally Kim's idea. Him and Ben talked about it, but Kim had wanted to do digital coaching. And Ben had a lot of people reaching out to him wanting to do a way to do digital coaching, but it's tough without having a platform and doing one off or having because all three of us are kind of too busy to do like, hey, on Tuesday night at 2 o'clock, we're gonna do this call and like have if you had let's say 50 people in a program to do like one-on-one call, it's just too much. So it needs to be a forum type of setup. And so anyway, those guys told me what they were coming up with. This is maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. Again, I apologize. I'm not good with dates, but a while ago. And so I was all on board, ended up being a moderator when it very first started. And I've kind of just been along helping them throughout the process with ideas, a podcast, that kind of stuff. And now I help with the coaching stuff also. So there's probably hundreds of thousands of hours of video content at this point, and then people that want in person or I'm sorry, digital coaching. There's different tiers. So like a read only, a silver level where you upload one video a month to get feedback, or a gold level where you get your own private little forum. You upload a video a week, and what that is people take a video like 5 minutes or less of their training or match, put it on YouTube in an unpublished link. They drop that in the forum. We pull the video off that and put it into a program that does. I'm not big into sports ball, but like what they do for sports online, where they can scribble on the screen and put arrows and then go a frame back, a frame forward, and kind of slow motion stuff. So anyway, then show somebody or the person what they're doing, what we want them to do, and explain the technique or why they're getting the results they are. Then with the voiceovers, we're talking through it while we're recording this, then put that up, and then at the student's leisure, they can watch that video and get the feedback. So it works really well because it's not time sensitive in the way that anybody has to be at their computer or doing this at a certain time. So anyway, that's grown a lot over the last couple of years, but it kind of does the whole thing. And then the material from the books Ben and I have done is all in the forum also. So it kind of gives you the one-stop shop for videos, reviews of your shooting, drills, podcasts, all that kind of junk. So anyway, it's been good.
When you and Ben teach a class, what are some common mistakes you guys see the most?
It kind of depends. Um, like regardless of how good people want to be, they're always going to want to be better, of course. So there's always going to be grip issues. What that means is people not keeping both hands attached to the gun. So while the gun recoils, maybe the support hand stays put, while the firing hand, the gun kind of slips away, pushing down on the gun. So when people want the gun to go off, they'll end up pushing down on the gun, trying to stop it from recoiling or in anticipation of the shot. That happens a lot. There's a lot of vision issues. So people start watching. What we want you to do is be target focused. So you look at the target where you want the bullets to go, and you'll just see the sight kind of peripherally bouncing up and down. But we don't want to get you to the spot where you're like watching the sight climb up on the target. That's going to create a lot of marksmanship issues. So keeping people target focused in the way that they're always looking where they want bullets to go and trying to ignore and just see peripherally their sight, whether it's an iron sight or red dot, are kind of the main things, and especially the vision stuff, because the more specific you can be on the target, meaning if you look at the very dead center, exactly where you want bullets to go, that's going to be a lot more powerful than just looking at the shape or color of the target. Like, yep, there's a big brown target, and you just center your gun somewhere in the brown target, pull the trigger twice. You're not going to get nearly as good of results if you're kind of like the Mel Gibson aim small, miss small. If you're like you pick a very small point in the middle of the target and drive your bullets there, it's going to give you a lot better results. So grip and vision are kind of where the biggest issues for people stem from. And then tension's another super common one. So people commonly, when they want to go fast, they'll shrug their shoulders up a little bit. Maybe the head goes down or they tense up and they want to hold the gun with their chest or back. So they get really, really tense. And then while they're trying to shoot the gun, they're just not able to like basically move between targets due to the amount of tension they have. They start pushing down the gun. They get trigger freeze. So not releasing the trigger in between shots. That's kind of the main stuff that we see. And then as you get better, it'll still be the same types of things. It's just more nuanced. But those kind of issues are, on most people.
And I think that was definitely one of the biggest revelations I had as just this past year, I started getting more into competition. Just learning about, how important the vision part of it is, because mostly what I've been trained is it's all in that clean trigger press and like okay I can shoot real nice small groups slowly, right? But if I try to go faster, everything starts to fall apart. I'm too tense, my grip's not there. But that's why I really appreciate you guys and all the stuff you guys put out, because I started realizing, hey, there's a lot of really good new technique that I really need to pay attention to.
Good. No, I'm glad. And then you could just teach other people
Mhm.
like better techniques, hopefully, and kind of just move the ball forward as far as training goes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the reason why a lot of people struggle with tension so much is because most of the like gun influencer, the big ones, like they always talk about like death gripping, right? Like I was like for example, before I saw your guys' videos, I used to like watch a lot of Instructor Zero and then
Oh boy.
and because their videos are so cool, like
Mhm.
they're very good
Mhm.
at marketing, and so like me not knowing anything, I thought that that's the right way to do
Mhm.
it. So when I first got into shooting, I would always def grip, and then when I started watching you guys and you guys talk about how your dominant hand should just be as loose as possible, and I'm just like, dude, that's such a game
That
changer. But it was hard for
that was
me to
crazy,
adapt. It was hard for me
crazy.
to adapt what you guys were teaching.
Mhm.
But then when I started doing what you guys are teaching, I noticed a huge difference in my shooting.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, I regularly encounter people that could easily beat me up, or in classes, or like some people where they could, with one hand, grip a polymer gun so hard that the magazines won't fall out. Those kind of people are out there, and so it's impressing to those people with that kind of strength that it's not that you have to be so strong that you can grip a polymer gun enough to make it flex. Just hold it in your hand so it doesn't move. But type A people, and especially really physically fit type A people, are used to using muscle to make the gun do what they want. So the important part to impress is that it's about finesse. It's not about using your muscle to force the gun to do something. But again, like you said, it's easier stuff said than done. And even
Yeah.
knowing it intellectually doesn't make it easy.
Oh,
All
absolutely.
right. So who idea was it to put your guys' whole class for free on YouTube? And do you think it helped you guys more or it didn't?
Oh no, 100%. I think it was Ben and I both. I think one of the first ones he did was an Omaha class. And I think I had the idea to video it, and Ben's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna put the whole thing on YouTube." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So no, and if anything, it absolutely helps. People, well, like I don't think I have an opening in any classes I'm doing for like 3 months. Everything's sold out, which is good.
Nice.
In my opinion, like there's gonna be a bunch of people that aren't going to take a class with me anyway. Maybe they don't like me. Maybe they don't have the money. I'm not doing a class where they're at. So this way they can still get help, and it's not the same as getting in-person instruction anyway. because I very often hear people in classes where it's like I've watched the videos, but it's not the same as being in a class in person because the feedback it's actually getting feedback to what they are specifically doing.
Yeah, and it's always kind of funny to me when I talk to some instructors. They're like, "No, we never put anything on social media because you got to come to my class to learn that." And I'm like, I've seen some of your stuff, and I know that you're not really teaching anything groundbreaking out there."
Right. I think it's also a good defense mechanism because by putting full
Hmm.
classes online, like people are free to critique anything I say.
Hmm.
And not most people don't want to be open to that kind of critique.
Hmm.
Yeah, like you said, is a good defense mechanism. And I'm curious to see what other people have to say. I mean, I buy most people's book. My like YouTube browsing history is just anyone, especially full class dumps, but just kind of the big names instructors, just even if it's a little 5 or 10 minute deal, just like what are they teaching? What does their shooting look like? And it could be an example of what not to do, honestly. But still, I'm just interested like what other people have to say and how they approach shooting and what ideas they have and all that kind of stuff. I'm very nerdy about this stuff. So I like knowing what other people are saying and what their programs are like.
Yeah, my pet peeve is instructors who show fancy shooting, but then they don't show their hits.
This is true. Ah, that happens some. Oh well. I don't
Uh,
get too about that stuff, honestly. Sorry, we're gonna say.
oh, I was gonna say, how do you feel about that? About instructors who just show their good shooting but never show their hits.
Care. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I think for me, if it's a big name person, and I know that you're good at shooting, then yeah, it's like if I watch Ben and he's not going to show his hits, and I already know he knows how to shoot. But if it's somebody who's they're trying to be a little bit more up and coming, I want a little bit more confirmation that you're able to do what you say you're trying to do.
Well, once you get more experience, if you just watch
Mm,
their body language and the muzzle of the gun,
mhm.
it's pretty telling to know if they hit the
Yeah.
target. And sometimes you watch people's reaction and they'll be really surprised when they hit the steel because you'll see like a physical reaction from them or their shoulders, or
Mm,
you can tell when people are just slinging the gun towards the target shooting.
mhm.
Look at that. Yep, those are on target. So I remember one time Huan Chi had this was it's probably 3 or so years ago. He sent me a video of one guy and he was clearly like you looked at the targets and the bullets were already on the target and he was just shooting in between the targets.
Oh my God.
No, it's super obvious. If you know what you're looking for is very obvious because you can even see where the bullets were impacting, like in the dirt.
Damn.
Yeah, but
Damn.
whatever. I don't need to like correct people or I mean it's people do what they do. It doesn't bother me.
All right, next question is what made you so passionate in helping others to become a better shooter?
I think it's fun like showing people I like teaching people anyway. I think that's kind of one of those things where like you have it or you don't. But I like helping people anyway, and it's fun kind of showing people, like I said, a whole new world where stuff they didn't know is possible, talking about stuff like the doubles drill, where people are on paper or like holding the A zone at 10 yards, maybe 15 yards. People are really shocked at what you get away with. So it's just all the information I wish I had when I started. And it's fun helping people. It's fun moving the ball forward. And especially like a bigger picture, just kind of the training community, where law enforcement, military training's going, what competition training's like. Kind of fun having a part in all that stuff. And if I wasn't doing that, I'd just be talking to my friends about like practicing or shooting or training or that kind of junk anyway. I mean, that's like routinely, if I'm playing video games with my friends, we'll be talking about shooting anyway, or training or drills or that kind of junk.
So I know that you guys didn't come up with the occluded red dot, but who was the first one to try it?
Well, yeah, I think it's like Bindon aiming concept or something. It'd been around for a long, it's like the
Yep.
pre-game days. So no, we did not create that at all. I think all of us probably when we first started, all three of us, when we started doing red dots, tried it. It was just giving people more options to work through target focus and tools to help them do that. Because like the occlusion won't stop you from being like staring at your dot. You could still stare at the dot. Believe me, you're just gonna see the tape or the backer behind it. So nope, all me, Ben, and Kim were all doing that. As soon as we got red dots, all of us were just kind of messing around with that.
Mm.
And it's just been a good tool. That along with changing your dot brightness is a good way just to help people kind of reinforce what target focus should look like.
Actually, really quick. So for our listeners who
Yeah.
are not familiar with occluded sights, do you want to explain that to them really quickly? And what do you think are some of the pros and cons of doing that?
It's good thing to bring up. I'm glad you said something.
Hmm.
So, with your red dot, all you do is put tape, whatever you like, whatever you prefer. I like using black electrical tape. One, electrical tape's not super gummy, so if you decide you don't like it, you want to take it off, you won't have a mess all over your optic. It's not tough to clean up. Two, having a black backer then behind your dot, it's really makes the dot stand out really well. But anyway, all you're doing is putting some form of tape on the muzzle side of your optic. So if you look through the red dot from the back, you can't just look through the glass to see your target. And then what happens? That's the other thing people want to talk about. Like, talk to me about this occlusion thing. It's like, well, have you tried it? No. I'm like, okay, we don't really have anything to talk about yet. So you need to at least try it before you start talking about it or you want to talk about it. But at a broad stroke, what happens is you just hold the pistol on the target with one eye. You're going to see the dot, but with that tape behind it, your other eye kind of sees the whole everything or what the other eye is not. Short version, your brain just puts the two together, kind of like when you're looking through a pair of binoculars, and it's a tool that helps you stay target focused. But if you start staring at your dot, you still can, and you'll just see that tape behind it or that black backer. So it's just a good tool to reinforce kind of target focus. The times where you shouldn't is if you're going to have, like in a practical shooting sense, a low port or a lean, something where you can't get both eyes behind the gun. Because if I was leaning really far and one of my eyes I couldn't see, and the only side I could see was the eye that's looking through the tape, it's going to be really tough because you're not going to be able to have like that binocular vision where your eyes see both images. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot of problems. Some people have a convergence issue, which means their eyes don't look at the same place. So if you do try that occlusion, it's easy to just like bullseye shoot 3, 4, 5 rounds on a target and just make sure it doesn't change your point of impact. If it does, the bullet may go high, left, right, whatever. And if that's the case, then it's just a dry fire only tool because it won't work for you in live fire. Or you could re-zero your gun to it, I suppose, but I really wouldn't recommend that. So
So for some of the newer people in our audience, what's the importance of that target focus? Because we talk about that a lot.
sure. No, more good questions. So it's important to look where you want the bullets to go. If you shift your vision back and start looking at your sight, it'll be really tough to find the middle of the target. So in a red dot sense, if I just stare at my dot and I'm following it towards the target like a practical shooting, once I see a brown target behind the dot, it's going to be easy just to start firing. But that might just be the outside edge of the target or a wrong area. That doesn't mean I found the middle. So instead, you want to have your eyes go dead center to the middle, then bring the sight to where you're looking. When people do like transitioning between the targets, they'll also get their eyes sometimes sucked onto the dot, which makes it tough finding the targets. You'll see where they'll move the gun somewhere and it won't be at the right spot for the target, and then you'll see a correction afterwards. That's very common from staring at your sight but not finding the target. Um, and then if you are moving, the hits will trend the direction you're walking because you won't be looking at the target. So if you have, let's say, three targets side by side, if you're moving from left towards the right, while you walk right, your hits on the target will keep trending towards the right because you're not able to look at the middle of the target where you want the bullets to go. Instead, you'll just see the target behind your sight and they'll just keep trailing along the target. But this is
Nice.
all way easier said than done. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Mhm. Oh no, I was gonna say thank you so much for explaining that,
Oh,
and
of course.
that was definitely one of the things that was a revelation to me when I was really getting to this.
Yeah, because the common like training was, whoops, keep your front sight in focus, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Which is just, unfortunately, it's not a very good method for tracking where you want the bullets to go. And then in a marksmanship sense, if you're doing rapid fire target, if you watch your front sight, it'll just start tracking up the target or your dot either way, and you won't track it back down to the middle of the target, which is another big issue. You'll end up commonly having your second shots go high or maybe over the top of the target.
Do you
Absolutely.
so for iron sights, do you put it do you think it's possible to put tape for iron sights?
It works a little bit in dry fire, but no, it's not. Obviously, it's not a live fire solution. I know some people that like it for dry fire.
Okay.
But yeah,
And
it's the same thing that happens with
the
irons.
same
You don't
thing.
want to stare at the front sight. Even with iron sights, people are like, what about if the target's at 10 yards? I'm like, yep, don't care if it's at 10,000 yards. Regardless of distance, you want to be, in my opinion, target focused, which doesn't mean you're point shooting or you're unaware of where the iron sights. It just means you can see the relationship of your sights. So I'll know if they're in focus or not, or if they're lined up, regardless if they're like they don't have to be sharp and in focus for me to know, like, yep, the rear sight's not even remotely lined up with the rear sight. Then, if they are lined up, I could be focused on the target. Even though my sights are blurry, I'm still aware if they're lined up or not.
All right.
Yeah, good question.
All right. So the next question is, as a GM and an instructor, what do you think about those people who say that they don't want to do competitive shooting because they only do self-defense training?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's people have to decide what's important to them or what they want to do. And I don't try that hard to like convince people or to it's like I'm not trying to change people's mind. I guess the kind of the results speak for themselves when we look at what the highest levels of the US military are doing, and it is practical shooting. And in the end, it's just being fast and accurate. Some clients shoot people, some of my clients shoot cardboard targets, some of them are metal targets or steel targets. So regardless of how you apply the techniques, it's just being fast and accurate. And I think it's also an easy defense mechanism for people to not want to do competition because, I mean, it is intimidating for an outsider just to see it and like, hey, that looks, I don't know what gear I need or how to sign up or what to do. So it's easy to be dismissive of it. But I mean, the results speak for themselves. And like for the US military, there is a lot of competition shooters or some at least competition shooters training, like I said, the US military because like for instance, I've never shot a person. I'm pretty cool with that. I have no desire to be in a self-defense shooting, but I could be a subject matter expert for the US military or a police department just talking about being fast and accurate, proven techniques for holding the pistol. That's completely separate from like squad tactics or CQB or moving as a team. It's like this is just shooting the pistol. Then how they choose to communicate or work together or problem solve, that's a way different class. That's just holding the pistol properly and shooting it straight.
Do you think competitive shooting will make you better at tactics?
No, they're completely separate. The one part that's probably I'm an outsider on this, but just observing things, and I've done some like role playing before for force on force stuff, where I was just given like an airsoft gun, and so giving a scenario where police or the officer is going to need to deal with this. And then I've had like rules. So if this happens, you can draw your pistol and start shooting at the officer. If he's, says this to comply. So having rules, I will say like doing stuff like that and then observing friends who do things like CQB and fight with guns. If you have the skills where you could just do the marksmanship stuff without thinking about it really hard, that frees up your processing to do everything else. So for the example, when I was doing the force on force stuff, I didn't even give a thought about any of the marksmanship stuff. I was looking for the officers, trying to find them all so I could shoot them. I was not like I didn't have to think about how to hold the pistol or pressing the trigger or how to align the sights. I was just like, I hear like four guys, they're all coming from me, like, oh, I see a riot shield over there, and I'm just trying to like fight them. I didn't have to think about the shooting part at all. Which then, if I didn't have that ability, then it'd be really easy to get overwhelmed because I'd be thinking about, all right, we're okay. I got to hold the gun properly and make sure I line the sights. Like, oh crap, there's two officers right there. You know what I mean? Like it'd be really fast happening. So, for my just experience and people I've talked to, being able to do the shooting part on autopilot and just let it happen, then frees up my ability to work on everything else and problem solve and look around. So it's a lot less likely to be overwhelmed, in my opinion. But again, I've never done anything cool. I've just been an observer in some of that stuff.
That sounds like a nightmare scenario, being a cop tasked with a search warrant against a GM.
I was told to not. I did not shoot with my full ability. I was told to tone it down a little bit, which I was fine with. So I was not just trying to like make them all lose or anything like that. It was very honored they asked me to do it about. I was just being helpful and following the rules I was given.
Did they tell you to slow down and get your hits?
They I didn't even, in that situation, I didn't even really even talk to the officers that much. There was just the admin person, the trainer would tell me what to do, and then I'd kind of do my part of the scenario, whether it was like wandering around in a with a like a concealed pistol, officer's gonna pull up and like call me to their car, or like a public works building, I'm like dug in basically with a pistol, and then I would just like do the scenario what they told me to do. And then afterwards, I just refill my mags and plus up the gun. And then the officer, if they wanted any input from me, they would just ask me, like, just be me and the training officer, like, what did you see? Did you get this guy? What was he doing? Why did you go do this? And then I would just explain to him kind of what I saw or why I did what I did. And then I would just let him, work with the officers. 'Cause I'm not their boss. I was just kind of there trying to be helpful.
All right, so we're down to our last four question. How do you know the instructor you're taking a class from is legit beforehand?
Dude, that's a good question. So I think it's a little bit of discernment, and you don't know what you don't know. I mean, honestly, when I started watching like the first I think shooting DVD I ever got a hold of was the Magpul Dynamics DVDs. I don't know if you've
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it was Chris Costa and Travis Haley,
Hmm.
which I mean, there's still some people like them, but like most people would regard them as not very serious or credible anymore. But at the time, I mean, those are the guys. So you don't know what you don't know. I'm just like looking at them trying to like, hey, would I do this or not? And like I'd never really seen people running around shooting fast with guns. So although now I would say they're not nothing I would, there aren't people I'd really aspire to shoot like, but you don't know what you don't know. So for me, I would just look at the information they put out online. Hopefully they do. Anyone that doesn't put out information online for me would be just an automatic no. Because if you don't put out at least some like educational stuff or class. It doesn't have to be a full class video, but at least some information to kind of make a decision on. Or if they've been on podcasts as a guest, you could just listen to that. Like, hey, I like the way this guy's talking, or I don't think they know what they're talking about, or you like their program. And then part of taking a class from somebody has to be, in my opinion, somebody that you actually like somewhat. Doesn't mean they'd have to be your best friend, but sometimes there'll be somebody that they just irritate you. And most people have that where it's like, it doesn't matter if this guy gave the best information ever. I'm just not a fan. I don't like the way he delivers information or to like have a chip on their shoulder, whatever the case could be. So I think either podcast or just YouTube gives you a good idea of their shooting skill. So can they do the thing? And then just like, do you like the way they talk? Do you think they explain things well? Does it seem like somebody you could learn from? And then if you have friends, you could talk to them or see, online forums what reviews are like. And then at some point it's a little bit of a gamble. I've attended shooting classes that I didn't really know how they were going to be, and then turns out being not super great. Kind of like the lesson of what not to do in some ways, but you never know that going in.
Yeah, Ku and I have been we've been talking about that question for a while now. Is, how do you recommend somebody who lives in like the middle of Nebraska and, is their local guy any good? It's hard to tell. And I guess one of the pieces of advice we've been telling people is, if you kind of get plugged in with your local shooting community, especially if you're talking about like the practical side, like USPSA, they tend to know who's a little bit more credible, and that's a little bit of the advice we've been given.
Yeah, and sometimes it just boils down to personality. They like
Hmm.
this guy and they like the way he's talking and they think he'd be likable. And
Hmm.
I don't think that's really everything, but sometimes people gravitate towards that. For me, I'm very nerdy about the information. So for me, it's can they explain the information in a way that I can easily understand? That's a big part of it for me because so you could talk about terms like fast and slow. That doesn't really help me at all because fast to me might be slow to you and vice versa. So their ability to explain the drill, if they demo it, it doesn't have to be the best shooting I've ever seen in my life, but it needs to at least be right and then kind of just explain what's going on and like, is this something that I could try to recreate and would help me, better my performance, or I would understand if I passed the drill or if I made a mistake, could I figure out from this instructor where I made the mistake and how I'd get better at?
Yeah, that's why I like to watch Ben Steger and Matt Prank a lot because like when they talk, they don't, I feel like they just keeping it honest, like they don't try to be all professional and stuff. So, and when they explain things, they also had demos of what they're talking about. So
Mhm.
that's how I view which instructor is legit as a student.
I completely
And
agree.
yeah, that's why I enjoy your guys' videos and everything you guys put out there because you guys are not, just acting. You guys are talking specifically about, shooting and you guys are concentrating on shooting and yeah,
I agree because you could just talk kind of around in circles about nothing for a while.
yeah,
Like, what are we doing here?
yeah.
So I like very actionable, very
Mm,
specific. Like the details matter for me anyway.
yeah.
Wait, so you're saying you don't like it when Instructor Zero talks about like kinesiology and all these other big buzzwords
Travis
to
Haley's
make it
this
sound real important?
like proprioception and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No one, we're shooting guns in dirt
Yeah.
pits, we're crying out loud. No one cares. And even so, we'll talk crazy. So like Travis like telling me like how your eyes are supposed to work. Like I don't really care, honestly. I could not care less. But it's like, what am I going to do? Like tell me the issues I'm going to have and not in a way that's like because it's like if you try to impress people, that's just kind of a bad look, in my opinion. It'd just be so we're talking about that target focus thing. You don't need a medical term for me to tell you, hey, guess what? When you start shooting fast, you're going to want to start staring at the sight. Try not to do that. I want you to stay focused on the target. We could turn down your sight or occlude it as a tool to help you with that. I can do that without giving you a medical term about how, some of your eye like moves or some machine. It's like no one cares about that stuff. Just like trying to get better at shooting the gun targets. Just tell me
Yeah.
what am I looking for? How do I fix it? How do I read my targets? What technique should I be using?
Yeah, so yeah, like that's why I like you guys, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Show a lot by not talking too much. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, like, I've been to classes before where they talk for like 30 minutes for a demo, and everyone's just toning out. It's like tuning out. It's way too much. So for 5 minutes or so, you just demo the drill, explain the right way to do it, the wrong way, what I'm asking you to do, how do you result, like what the results you're likely to have on the target, answer any questions, and you get to shooting. That's it. Because if it's a 30-minute talk, it's hot outside probably. People are there to shoot, not to listen to you talk for 30 minutes. It's like, what is the drill? What are you asking me to do? How do I assess doing the drill right, wrong? If I make a mistake, what issue am I likely to have and how do I correct it?
Have you guys ever thought about making like cool shooting videos to get more attention from like the new shooters?
I've done my friend Lucas for T-Rex. He's good. They
Oh,
have
Mhm.
I'm
kind
gonna
of stuff.
talk
Mhm.
about him next. Hold,
Oh,
Oh,
we
hold,
good.
we
hold,
talk about
yeah,
we talk
yeah,
about Lucas a lot.
yeah.
Lucas is
Hold your thoughts. I'm gonna ask. That's the next question.
all right. My friend Nick is good about making some videos. Whenever I'm at his place, Nick Young, it's Velox Training Group. Your audience would like him too. He's the same page as me. But whenever I end up hanging out with him or staying at his place, he'll make some cool edits and cuts and stuff. Like, I appreciate that stuff. He's very talented for that. For me, it's just normally I'll just like prop my phone up on a table or something, and it's just one take or my GoPro. It is what it is. Then it gets posted. So no, I'm not much for the editing stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the people that are really into shooting will look up for you guys, and then I think the people that just want to like shoot for fun will look up to like I hate to say this, but like the SF guys.
Sure. No, I
That's
get
how
it.
I
Like
feel. Yeah.
Doris videos, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, including myself, like when I first got into shooting, I looked up to like a lot of the SF guys because they have a lot of cool videos. They're really good
Sure.
at marketing, and then that's how I learned that death grip from
Sure.
Instructor Zero.
No, I mean that stuff looks cool. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So the next question is well, it's more like a comment. So me personally, I am a fan of Lucas Bakken, from
Yeah,
T-Rex Arms,
yeah.
and I know you are too. But
Mhm.
why do you think some people hate his shooting videos so much?
I don't know. I mean, that's tough to speculate about. Lucas, I think there's a lot of people jealous of Lucas. He's very successful in bit like in everything he does, honestly. And he's very likable. Lucas, well, I'll tell a quick story. So Lucas, He was following me on Instagram. This has been several years ago, and I DM'd him because he was doing some shooting, and I was just couldn't help myself. Just like, hey, I have a few like pointers if you'd want just some feedback for your shooting. He's like, yep, all ears. Message back and forth. He's like, hey, what would you charge to come out and teach me for a week? I was like, nothing. You just tell me when to be there. Anyway, we just became friends. And Lucas, somebody I'll chat with on the phone every week or two, text him back and forth. He's super nice. But yeah, I mean, some people are going to be jealous of his success. But I like Lucas a lot just as a friend. He's he's fun to be around, a super nice guy.
Yeah, I
I
think.
think one of the
Yep.
oh, go
Yep. Go
ahead,
ahead.
Q.
Go ahead, Christian. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think one of the things I always see is people always like, oh, Lucas speeds up his videos. He speeds up his videos. Like, and then you watch him, and it's like, I mean, he's going pretty fast, but that's not like out of the realm of possibilities of anybody with a decent level of skill.
I suppose. I mean, you could say my videos are sped up too. I don't even know
Yeah.
what the mechanisms are to show if they are or aren't. I'm sure
Hmm.
somebody has a thing, but not Lucas would be like A or probably M class level for USPSA. He's quite good at shooting. He's very good with the rifle also, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't normally like, I don't spend energy or effort trying to impress haters because like the joke, haters are gonna hate.
Yep.
There's nothing you could say to make people change their mind anyway, so why would you bother? It doesn't matter. You kind of just get comfortable with people not liking you, and it's like, whatever, okay.
Yeah, I think the reason why people like some people dislike him is because he's a civilian that does like cool tactical stuff. And I think that's the wrong way to view uh, a shooter because the thing is that he showed his hits, and he actually put out very educational videos out there. But I think people just can't get over the fact that he's a civilian, and he wears skinny jeans.
Yeah. Skinny kid. Yeah. He's
Yeah,
not a
I guess
muscle guy. He doesn't look the part.
haters gonna hate.
yeah,
No, I mean it makes sense because he's actually, well, for him, like a lot of the nylon stuff they make. Well, I was recently on a military base, and there were people wearing T-Rex, like the nylon products, where it's the AC1 they sell, the Ready Rig, so it's a chest rig. Their slings I regularly see. I use their sling. I think it's one of the best slings you can get. So anyway, his products are well known and used by military and law enforcement. So I mean, it's just that is his audience. But yeah, I don't try to control what people do. People do
yep.
their thing.
All right, so down to our last two question. As an instructor, what advice would you give to other instructors?
It's tough. Probably, well, for me, I think the biggest thing to get started was I'd want to share everything I know with a student, and it would just end up being kind of a brain dump. And although it would be the right information or helpful information, sometimes it's just too much and it turns out being an overload for people. So I think it's important to pick out, look at a student, it's like, where are they at right now? Where could they be? And what's the one piece of information that's going to be the most helpful for them where they are right now? And that's not easy to do. That comes with experience. But instead, I could be like, hey, Christian, your grip's a little bit different. And oh, your stance changed a little bit. Oh, and you should move your head this way a little bit and do this with your support hand. Oh, and make sure you stop doing this with your vision. Like, okay, great. Like, that's all going to be way too much. You can't do that. Instead, if I'm like, hey, just make sure you look where you want the bullets to go and try to relax your shoulders or something like that. Like, that's going to be way easier for somebody to understand. So it's too easy to overload people. And I think you need to just very much keep it simple and understand like where the person is and where they could be. And that just comes from experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're so correct about that. And I think that as instructors who teach anything, that's one thing that they constantly forget is that um there's always those guys, maybe you're teaching welding or you're teaching some kind of any type of technique and they're like, "Oh, you're dumb. You're not doing this right. You're not doing this right. You're not doing this right." And you know, as an instructor, you really need to put yourself in the mindset that they don't know anything and they're starting from the ground and you really got to kind of pick your battles of, let's work on this first and kind of build it up. And I think you absolutely nail it when you say that.
I think also sometimes instructors, like if you're lower confidence or not
Mhm.
sure, sometimes people try to oversell or over give information because that comes from a place of insecurity or they're trying to validate, like trying to make sure they're giving the person enough for their money or value or something like that. So there's also a confidence with that. It's just Like this is what's going on, this is what we need to fix it, and just give people a couple of things and let them work with it. But I think it all just comes from experience. And like the more you teach, you get experience with different personalities. Your shooting skill gets better. You have more experiences. It always just, in my opinion, it kind of always evolves, or it's hopefully always getting better anyway.
Yeah, I'm not an instructor, but I think instructors should always seek out more knowledge from other instructors and
100%.
be a sponge. Yeah.
I'm always on the lookout for
Yeah.
like the next best thing.
Yeah.
There's who are up and comers, who are people like I want to take a class from. So I think that's super important also because it's like I'm not going to pretend like I know everything there is and I'm the best shooter or teacher there's ever been. So like there's going to be other people out there that know more information or have different drills or their own drills. Like what are they teaching? What are their thoughts like? How do they articulate information? So I think that's super important. There's a guy Kyle DeFore who's like a rifle and pistol shooter. He's in the military for a while. Anyway, I'm taking one of Kyle's or two of Kyle's classes this summer. It'll be like 4 days because I've had him on my podcast before. I think he's especially very talented with a rifle. So I'm just interested to see what his class is like. So I'll just I text with Kyle a bit. And I'm just going to attend his class as a student, just a regular no name on the line, and just because I'm curious to see how he gives out information and what drills he does and how he gives feedback and all that kind of stuff just to see what I can learn.
Yeah, other instructors I've talked to say that that's kind of what we do is you just steal ideas from other people and then we just kind of regurgitate it back at each other.
Sure.
Uh, I'm taking Billy Barton's class, Spec
Okay.
Train, coming up in about like 2 weeks. I'm super pumped for that, and I think that you made a good point that as an instructor that it should be a hallmark that you should be looking for the next best thing, and you shouldn't just be stagnant like a lot of departments when they teach. It's the same thing they've been teaching for 25, 40 years.
Yeah, and even like my class material, if you go to a class a couple years apart or a year apart and it's the same class, the same drill order, the same jokes, stuff like that's very stale. I think that like the drills and the feedback, it should be changing. Maybe not every 6 months, maybe every year, but there should be a constant evolution. Because I don't think you ever get things like so perfect that it's just like, nope, never going to change it. I'm always looking for a better way to do things anyway.
Absolutely love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
All right, so this is not the last question, but um, in your opinion, just your opinion,
Oh
who do you
boy.
think is the best shooter at the moment?
I don't know. It'd be probably between Steger and Christian Seiler, I think.
Hmm.
And then it'd be Eric Raffel would be in the mix. It'd be between those three. But I think I don't know, it's tough to say. Christian's very, very good. But so is I mean, like knowing Ben and being Ben's one of my closest friends. He's better at shooting now than when he won like his last nationals. By far, noticeably better. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to see.
Is Ben getting back to competition this year? I think I saw something about him
Yeah,
getting
he'll
back in it.
shoot some matches, but I mean honestly, like just being real, we're already booking classes for next year. So there's limited openings in the calendar for matches and stuff to shoot. But yeah, Ben will be shooting some matches. At least that's the plan.
Nice. I absolutely want to see that.
Yes. Unfortunately, I keep his calendar full, I guess, for the both of us. But yeah, and then I'm sure your audience would be familiar, but Christian Seiler is also very, very good. It looks like Sailor if you're typing out his name, but Christian's like a world and national champion. Very, very talented.
Didn't he last year? Was it last year? Didn't he win like all the national?
It was a couple years ago where he won every area match and the nationals in the same
Yeah.
year. I thought that was super impressive. But
Do
yeah,
you,
he shoots
oh yeah.
open, carry optics, and limited optics, I think.
Wow, nice.
And during that time, that dude was only 19, right? I think he was only
Probably
19. Yeah.
sounds about right.
So in your opinion, do you think is better to do you think younger kids have a better advantage when it comes to learning in
I'll give you
general?
one that you probably don't expect. It depends on the parents.
Mm, yeah.
Because sometimes I've seen some helicopter parents that they want so badly for their kid to do well that it kind of ruin the kid's enjoyment of the sport, honestly. And so it just depends. I in my opinion, again, like, well, I have my fiance's daughter. She's 18 years old, so like if she wants to go shooting, that's cool. But I'm not ever going to shove it down her throat. So I've got plenty of guns and ammo. And hey, like, hey, if you ever want to go shooting, that's cool. But I'm not going to be like, hey, we're going to go shooting, and I'm going to take all these guns, and then hey, let's get you a rig set up, and hey, you got this. I got a holster rig for you. Like, if they're not into it, they're not into it. It's up to them.
Yeah.
So if kids at a younger age, of course, hand-eye coordination and like talent, the younger you get into it, it's going to be better. But if the parents kind of suffocate the kids or make the kids do it, then it's not going to be so great. So, and then you fast forward if the kid, but like 20, 21, 22, 23, maybe money's tight also. So that makes it tough to train. So I don't know what the right answer is. But I don't, probably the younger you get started, it's probably the better. But you also need to be able to practice and do it on your own terms because if it turns into work or somebody's making you do it, then regardless of what age, it's going to just kill your fun or it's going to turn into work, which is no good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you play Call of Duty?
Yes, I'm not that good. I am about B class in Call of Duty.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if you watched the episode I did with we did with Ben Eggleston, but he played a lot of Call of Duty and he said that Call of Duty helped him a lot with his shooting in real life. In your opinion, do you think Call of Duty helped you in some
No,
ways? No?
maybe hand-eye coordination. So I played video games from a young age. I think being like hand-eye coordination, sure, but otherwise, nah. Or like playing Time Crisis, dude, I loved that game, but I don't think that's going to make you better at shooting.
All right.
Time Crisis is just dry fire, though, right?
I know. Time Crisis 2 is great.
Yes.
For Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 is the best one in my opinion. I love that.
Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1.
Classic.
Not a big of a Black Ops guy.
Ah, man.
What's up with the guys? I'm a good support guy. So I mean, I'll get some kills and stuff, but I'm good at like spotting the guys and rallying up the cash and helping out whatever. But I'm not going to be the one to be on point.
Speaking of
I'm a
video games,
Battlefield guy, though.
oh,
Okay. I've not played Battlefield very much. Now, if I'm playing PC gaming, it'd be Ready or Not or Ground Branch. But I mean,
Nice.
they're quite fun.
have you tried out the Ace VR?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I don't own it. I have friends that have it, and I've played it there. In my opinion, it's a lot like playing Time Crisis. There is some it's better than nothing, but I think doing actual dry fire with your rig, the way your pistol feels, the important part is loading if you're a frequent dry fire, having dummy rounds in your magazines that add the weight. So you if you have somebody that reloads, it would be a projectile, a bullet with a deprimed case that has no powder, no primer. That way your magazines feel just like they would when you're actually shooting them in competition or in a match. And so anyway, I think just dry firing with your actual gun, the way it will feel when it has live ammo, is the best route. But if Ace VR excites you to practice and you're into it, then absolutely do that.
Yeah, as a B class shooter, I think the only benefit thing that I got from Ace VR is just the vision. It's just because I get to do it over and over and over again, and it helped me like understand vision because I watch you guys' videos about vision, right? I could watch it all day, but I can't see what you guys are seeing, and I can't really see it just for one stage. So that's why I do like the Ace VR. I don't play as much, but I do like it because I get to do the stage over and over, and it helped me understand vision. So
The other part that I dislike is everyone that's telling me how good Ace VR is has a discount code. They're just trying to make money off
yeah.
it. So I'm more interested in that don't have a discount code and are just about the product. You'd be like, let's say I got $10 every time you bought a Walther pistol. Would you seriously, would you value my of Walther pistols as much if I got $10 every time? No,
Who
it's your opinion.
Kue and I were kind of having a discussion about this because I got one of those codes, but I told Kue that I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to tell people that here's my Ace VR code because I like Ace VR for what it is. I think it's been a really good tool in introducing me to competition shooting. But my big thing is that I want to have my own opinion and I don't want it to be tainted by sponsorship.
I agree with you. No, and like you said, it's better than nothing. So if it gets you excited and you want to mess around with it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, perfect. I think you should still do regular dry fire training with the gun that you're gonna shoot, but if it gets you excited to practice, then do it. The problem I have is where people are like, if you shoot 100,000 rounds of this, you're going to be automatic GM or something. And it's like, it just doesn't work that way because it's not about number. For example, like let's say I shot 100,000 rounds this year. That doesn't necessarily mean they were productive rounds or I got any better because like the number doesn't really tell the whole tale.
Yeah, and kind of going along with that, if you're really good at Ace VR, and what it's going to make you really good at is it's going to be make you really good at Ace VR.
Sure.
And I can attest to that because I've been playing for a while and I put like maybe 150,000 rounds through Ace VR and I can easily get like top 10% in it. But then I started doing first couple matches, and the first match I did was all classifiers, and I was talking with Ku. I think doing that I was probably like high C, maybe low B when I did the classifiers, Ku, and I was a little frustrated because like I'm really good at ACR. Why does that not translate to live fire? And it's like you said, if you're not actually doing that dry fire, which I wasn't doing as much as that as I should have been, it didn't really translate one to one.
I agree. It's like, hey, why are you still in C class if you've shot
Hmm.
200,000 rounds of ACVR? But
Hmm.
if it's something to do with your friends, a little friendly competition or something fun to unwind, then of course. Because like I don't have any illusions. Like I'm going to play Ready or Not tonight with the boys, and it's not going to do anything for my shooting career. It'll just be me having fun with my friends. And that's totally okay too. Like you need to have fun and, relax also.
Absolutely.
All right, our last question.
Oh boy.
It's nothing bad. All right, in your opinion, do you think there's a difference between big window versus a small window? So, for example, I noticed that when I shoot at RMR, the
Mhm.
dot will go out the window as it
Mhm.
recoils, but then with the SRO, you can see the dot go up and down. So, do you
I
think there's a difference or any beneficial, uh, anything that the big window has over the small window?
If it's not an issue, I would strongly prefer the larger window for every shooter. The other reason is your index finding the dot off the draw. With that, like you said, that RMR has a small little window.
Hmm.
So if you draw the gun and the dot's not right where you want it to be, you might have to do the thing where you kind of move your wrists around and fish for the dot. And with a bigger window, maybe it's just up and to left, to right or low, whatever, but you could still see it in the window. So I think that's quite important. I don't worry so much about the dot leaving the window when you shoot, but just the bigger glass you have to find the dot is going to be helpful. As you
Mm.
get better at shooting, then that's going to be less critical because you're going to be better at having a refined index. I'll call index just means you could just look at a spot and draw the gun, and the sight just goes right where you're looking without those little moments where you have to kind of make the correction or move your wrist to find the sight. But especially starting out, or maybe you're in a stage you're off balance or you don't have the perfect draw, whatever, then having a bigger window is only going to be helpful. So the couple I like, I'm a big fan of either the Holosun 507 comp or I like the Vortex Defender XL, either one, or just like they have big windows. They're a good price point. You mentioned the SRO, that's a great product. They're just more money. So either one of the other two options around 400 bucks or less. And if you have a Trigicon like style footprint, then if you have an RMR, you should just get the Holosun because it's got the same pattern as what in my opinion, as what the Trigicon products have. And if you have the Delta Point Pro, which is like four little posts, that style, then get the Vortex because that has that mounting pattern. But either dot's totally fine, and they both have great warranty.
All right, you got to settle an argument that Ku and I've been having.
Oh boy,
So I like the 507. I think it's great. Ku and I were kind of arguing because when Stager says that he likes the Ronin edition of the 507, he legitimately likes it, right? He's not joking. He actually likes that one better.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's because doesn't that one not have the different reticle system in it?
Exactly. It's just
Yeah,
one dot. That's it.
we just like the plain dot. Either one of
Okay.
us. I'll just on my 507 comps, it's always just the smaller, and
I
then
Oh
It's
yeah,
always
go
fun
yeah,
to
go
have
ahead.
a little fun with Ronan, old Whistlefoot himself. A garden warrior, garden princess, or whatever.
And I appreciate that about you guys that you know you may not like the person, but if they put out good products, I appreciate that you guys will say if it's a good product or not.
Hey man, he was a Call of Duty character though. That's more than I can say. Me.
I think Ben. Okay, so I do know that Ben likes the 507 comp. I know that, but I think he was just trolling when he said the
I
Rowan
think
was the best.
I
She
think
trolls about the dragon, but he likes the
Yeah.
dot.
I think the drag like who cares? For an extra $10, the dragon's kind of cool looking, and then you don't have to worry about toggling the dot. So that's fine. Either way. One other question between green and red. For most people, I strongly prefer the red dot. The green stands out really well, and I find it very easy to stare at it. So
Mm.
people talk about having astigmatism or one looks like a dot or a blur or whatever. What I'll just say across the board, most people with green, they'll start staring at the dot, and even included, it's much harder to be target focused.
Mm.
So for most people, I would recommend sticking with red.
Nice. Actually I've been meaning to ask about but thank you for sharing that.
It's a personal preference. I borrowed a box of Ben's guns for a
Mhm.
week, and he had a couple guns with green dots on it. Just taking to the range,
Mhm.
shooting them. I could just catch myself here and there. I'd start staring at the sight, or I'd be
Mhm.
like fighting the urge way harder to not stare at the sight. So red would be my choice, but it's always preference.
So speaking of the dot, what MOA dot do you like?
I like two, 2.5, three, somewhere in there. I don't like the big dots. So like on a farther target, yes, the dot's going to take up more space on the target or potentially cover it. I really like that miss small, like aim small, miss small kind of thought process. So for me, I like having a smaller dot. So that either the 2 minute, which Vortex just started coming out with a 2 MOA dot for the Defender XL, or the 2 minute dot from the 507 comp would be my choices. I strongly prefer the smaller dot.
So what do you think about those people who say that um they don't like the small dot because they could easily lose it when they start shooting fast?
Yeah, I mean, well, that comes with practice also. So an undeveloped shooter, sometimes it's easy to lose track of your dot. So it takes a bit of training. To example, let's say I'm doing some shooting over here. If I look at the target and then trust and believe that I can bring the gun over and have it aligned with the target, that's tough to do. Or for example, I shoot a target here and I look down here and then I know I'm gonna have the sight show up. It's difficult for some people to do. And especially starting out, people will want to just watch the sight and then track it between the targets because you don't want to lose it and have the point where it's like, where is it? And you have to kind of move your wrist around to find the sight. So normally I would say that comes from inexperience. The same thing with having the really big dot, like the 8 or 10 MOA dots, are gonna help you like find it faster on the draw or something like that. With an index and you with some just practice, if you do 5 minutes a day for 3 or 4 days a week, a couple weeks, it's not that big of a deal. You get to the point where you just stare at a point, you could just draw the pistol and point it there. It just comes with practice. Anyway, I prefer the smaller dots.
All right, anything else, Christian? Anything you want to
Um
ask?
no, that was pretty much all I had.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right,
Yeah, thanks
so
so much for joining us. It's definitely been an honor having you on our little podcast.
Ah, my pleasure.
Joe, for the viewers, where can they find you?
Probably my website's the easiest. It's just joelparktraining.com. You can find me there. It's got class schedule, links to books, training group, all that kind of junk. Otherwise, if you like consuming YouTube content, you can just punch in my name. I drop a video every day on YouTube, just helpful stuff. I try not to do as much USPSA stuff because it's kind of nuanced. Or a lot of the audience is like military and law. People just want to be fast and accurate. So it'd be more about just marksmanship types of stuff, where techniques or gear is mainly what people like. So anyway, I drop a video a day on YouTube also. That hopefully that's helpful and like gives you just a fresh perspective to take to your training.
All right, well, that's all the time that we have. Joe, I truly appreciate
Of
you
course, my pleasure.
be on
Appreciate
our
you.
podcast, man. I like
Yeah,
I didn't expect you to answer me, dude.
Oh, no big deal. A lot of messages get sent into spam. I get so many messages, but no, I'm happy to, glad to.
All right. Well, you have a good night, and then I'm gonna stop recording right now.